Philip. Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Right. So I haven't smoked in 3 years. I don't cough anymore. I feel awake. I gained all this weight.
It was a whole article in the Jewish forward on it that there's Asian loyalty because they don't have the same feeling, they don't have the same. Maybe I shouldn't prove them, but I can prove them. I don't think we can it out. How you doing? What's going on? Good to see you. How you doing? Good to see you. I haven't seen you in ages.
To lead us in the Star-Spangled Banner and Hatikvah.
So gallantly streaming, and the rocket
and esteemed friends and guests, welcome to the B'nai Israel 50th Anniversary Gala celebration in honor of Rabbi Israel Bornstein. We hope that this evening will be both the celebration of the B'nai Israel congregation and its most important spiritual leader. On behalf of the Planning Committee, thank you all for coming and for your support, interest, and incredible generosity. As I hope you can tell, this gala event has been in the planning stages for many, many months. The original plan for this evening was only to honor Rabbi Israel Bornstein for his many years of dedicated service to this congregation and community. As the concept for this evening developed, however, we realized that just as our forefather Yaakov was given the name Israel and became synonymous with the Jewish nation, literally B'nai Israel, so too has our rabbi, Rabbi Israel Bornstein, himself become synonymous with this congregation. Clearly, this evening had to honor both the congregation and its longest-serving spiritual leader. Of course, it was more than a little convenient that the congregation is currently celebrating its 50th anniversary. When we considered that we had such a unique opportunity to honor this wonderful man and this illustrious congregation with all of its history at the very same time, it became clear that a very big celebration was in order. There is no way my brief remarks this evening can fully praise Rabbi Bornstein or his contribution to this evening. First of all, I am sure that my humble words could not begin to tell the whole story. Fortunately, you will note from your programs that we have a full evening of testimonials, presentations, and a video which will do a better job than I could ever do. Secondly, I know that Rabbi Bornstein dislikes the spotlight and might be easily embarrassed by such high praise. You should note that Rabbi Bornstein only reluctantly agreed to be honored at this occasion. For my part, however, perhaps it is sufficient praise to note that there are striking comparisons between our forefather Israel and our own Rabbi Israel Bornstein. We are told, for example, that the name Israel is derived from either Sarkel, meaning minister of God, or Yisarkel, meaning upright with God. Certainly very apt descriptions of our own rabbi. I also note that our forefather Israel was most famous for his humility, honesty, and promotion of Torah learning and education. Those of you who know Rabbi Bornstein certainly know that he possesses these traits as well, and that he is practically legendary for his high moral character and steadfast promotion of Jewish education at all levels. Rabbi Bornstein, we hope that this congregation can live up to your high standards and become in every sense B'nai Israel, literally children of Israel, or at least at a minimum a congregation that you could be proud of and that is worthy of your good name. For this reason, this evening is dedicated to you as a small token of our appreciation. Thank you for lending your good name to this evening, and thank you all for coming. We hope you enjoy this very, very special evening. I would now like to invite Rabbi Joseph Friedman, Rabbi of the B'nai Israel congregation, to the podium to give us a Devar Torah.
Congregation, and we honor Rabbi Israel Bornstein for his countless years of tireless work and effort on behalf of this shul and the entire Tidewater community. I stand before you this evening somewhat humbled in the presence of two great products of my very own yeshiva, Ner Israel Rabbinical College. For both Rabbi Bornstein and Rabbi Schechter studied and worked and remained committed and connected to that great institution. So it is with their permission that I share these few words with you. But I have to tell you, before I share with you my prepared remarks, I just want to tell you a very quick story that happened yesterday afternoon, or yesterday morning. In my drasha yesterday, I mentioned a few words about Rabbi Bornstein at the end, about his ability to bring the concept of menschlichkeit to a whole new level of understanding. And he turned to me after I finished, as he does every Shabbos. He gives me a yasher koach, and he turned to me and said, "You did too much." He said, "Too much." I said, "I didn't even begin." I said, "Wait till tomorrow night." And then he told me a story. Rabbi Schechter, you'll appreciate this. He told me that our mutual Rosh Yeshiva, the dean of our yeshiva, told him this story. That once a guy came from the yeshiva in Slobodka to raise money in Baltimore. He was collecting money, and he was telling everyone about this great yeshiva with 500 students in Slobodka that they were going to raise money for. And he was telling everyone the same story. Finally, someone turned to our Rosh Yeshiva and said, "There's not 500 people learning in Slobodka. There's a lot less than that." So they asked this man, "Why are you telling everyone there's 500 people learning in Slobodka?" He said, "This is America. In America, whatever you tell them, they think it's half of what you say. So if I tell them there's 500, if I told them there's 250 boys, they'll think it's 125. If I tell them 500, they'll think it's 250. He said, it must be the same thing when we talk about people, that you say all these things, it's half of it. Well, Rabbi Bornstein, I guess tonight we're not in America, we're in Slobodka, because whatever we're going to say is only half of the real story. One of the greatest sages of the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century was the revered and honored Rabbi Yisrael Meir HaKohen Kagan Zatzal, better known as the Chafetz Chaim. He lived in the town of Radin, Poland, and passed away in 1933. And at his funeral, he was eulogized by his student, Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, of the city of Baranovich, also in Poland, a great Jewish scholar and leader in his own right. And during that eulogy, he offered the following insight. First, of course, he told of the great accomplishments of the life of the Chafetz Chaim. He talked about his writing of the Mishnah Brura, the quintessential halachic work of this century, about his work regarding Shmiras HaLashon, the watching of how we speak about other people, his Perush on Tanakh, his commentary on our Bible. And then he asked the audience to consider a certain scenario. Imagine, he said, if after Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our leader, died, imagine someone wanted to eulogize him. There would be no end to what that person could say and would have to say, and there would be no time sufficient in which to describe what Moshe was to the Jewish people. He says, however, the Torah does eulogize Moshe and does it with two words. It says, Vayom Hashem Moshe, and Moshe died there, Eved Hashem, a servant of God. And he said, how could it possibly be that those two words, Eved Hashem, a servant of God, could aptly describe all that Moshe was to the Jews during his lifetime? And in answer to that question, Rabbi Wasserman told the following story based on a Medrash Tanchuma. He said, once upon a time there was a wealthy businessman who was traveling on business. And he took with him on this business trip his entire fortune in gold bullion and precious stones. And with him he took his loyal servant. And in the middle of a business transaction, he suddenly felt very ill. And he became very frantic and panicking because he knew that he was about to die. And he didn't know what to do because he had his entire wealth with him. And he thought, as loyal as my servant is, he's still my servant. And if I die now, he's going to take my entire wealth and give none of it to my son. And if I write out a will, so he'll tear up the will. He'll say it never happened. What am I going to do? And he thought and thought. And finally, he calls over the servant and says, I'm going to die. But what I want to do is the following. I want to give you my entire fortune. You get it all. You've been loyal, you get everything. But when you go home, tell my son he can have any one possession of mine, and that's it. The rest is yours. Well, the servant was ecstatic. And he gathers the whole fortune together, comes home, they bury the man, and after the appropriate time of Shiva, he tells his son, the man's son, about the wish of his father, that the servant would get everything, but the son could have any one item. And the son was terribly upset. He was shocked. He says, how could my father be so cruel to me? And he runs to the Rav, he runs to the rabbi of the town, and he tells the story to the rabbi, and the Rav thinks, he says, your father was a genius. He couldn't trust the servant, and he had to make sure that you would get everything. You know what the one thing you're going to choose? The servant. Because the Gemara says, Mashekana Eved, Kana Rabbo. Whatever the servant owns, the master owns. It will all be yours. This, said Rabbi Chanan, was the significance of the word Eved Hashem, a servant of God. Because Moses understood that every skill and talent and accomplishment that he used in the service of God. Everything he had acquired in life was actually an acquisition for God, his master, for he utilized all of his faculties to spread Hashem's glory to the Jewish people. I have had the immense pleasure of working with and being mentored by Rabbi Israel Bornstein for the last 7 months. I have spent hours with him in discussions and learning with topics ranging from the ancient cities of refuge in Israel to the Orthodox response to the Holocaust, from reminiscences of our yeshiva days to halachically acceptable ways to have the custodian put up a kugel on Shabbos for Kiddush. We have spent time together talking about synagogue concerns, talking about community concerns. We've even talked about the state of modern Jewish music. And from all those hours of talk, one thing has become absolutely clear to me, besides the fact that he doesn't particularly care for contemporary Jewish music. What has become clear is that in the very truest meaning of the words, Rabbi Bornstein is an Eved Hashem, is a servant of God. His every fiber, his every essence, his spirit serves Hashem. He serves Hashem through his study. He serves Hashem through his prayer. He serves Hashem through his caring for every Jew he meets, through his singing, through his love of children, and perhaps most importantly, through his love of peace. I challenge everyone in this room, myself included, to leave this room tonight inspired and motivated by Rabbi Bornstein's example. In any arena in which we participate, there is the potential for kavod Hashem, for honoring God in heaven. Whether one can sing, write, teach, speak, paint, design, cure, cultivate, orchestrate, mediate, or negotiate. If it is done for the benefit of the members of our people, it is an elevated way of life. The more one devotes their time in this manner, the closer one gets to the exalted level of being an Eved Hashem, a servant of God. Rabbi Bornstein, as this wonderful, delightful congregation enters its second half-century, I humbly offer the following blessing. May we as a community continue to be inspired by you for many healthy years to come. On a personal level, may you continue to serve so graciously as my mentor and advisor and confidant for many healthy years to come. And may we all together herald the coming of the Messiah swiftly in our days. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.